Jonathan Pollard was an American Navy analyst convicted of passing classified information on to Israel. Jonathan is entering his 24th year of imprisonment, and a new campaign is being launched to work for his freedom. Shalom to Esther Pollard, wife of Jonathan.
Shalom.
Now, the activity for the benefit of Jonathan is carried out every day, but we understand that these upcoming days are especially significant.
There couldn't be a more significant time. First of all, these are President Bush's last 60 days in office. And in those last 60 days in office, there are two periods in which the outgoing president extends clemency and sends prisoners home who deserve to go home. We're coming up to the unfortunate, infamous anniversary of Jonathan's arrest tomorrow, November 21st, 2008. Jonathan ends 23 full years in prison tomorrow and begins his 24th year in prison for his service to Israel. That occurs tomorrow, November 21st. 2 days later, Prime Minister Ehud Olmert meets with President Bush. And a few days after that, the American people are celebrating the holiday of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is one of the two periods of clemency where presidents traditionally commute sentences. So there couldn't be a more opportune time for Mr. Olmert to be meeting with Mr. Bush. There couldn't be a more opportune time for Mr. Olmert to bring Jonathan home.
And you believe that phone calls to the White House in Washington can bring a change?
Phone calls is an excellent way to let the White House know that we all want Jonathan home and we want him home now. We also here in Israel have to let Mr. Olmert know that this is an absolute, this is the last chance you're going to have, Mr. Olmert. You've got to bring Jonathan home now, alive. We also have another component that's terribly, terribly important, and that's prayer. We have to let the Almighty know that we, the Jewish people, with all of our hearts, are sorry that we let Jonathan languish for 24 years and we want him home.
Now, do you believe President Bush will be more open to the idea of freeing Jonathan at the end of his term, or maybe he'd refrain from doing anything that might be considered controversial?
It won't be controversial. Either way, it will either be seen as an act of justice or an act of mercy, and it can only be to his credit.
So that's in terms of Washington, but tell us please, how are the Israeli officials treating the issue?
I think I'd like to answer that instead with a wish of how Jonathan and I would like Israeli officials to handle this issue. And I would like to send a message through the kind offices of Arutz Sheva to Prime Minister Ehud Olmert. Mr. Olmert, on the eve of your departure for Washington, I want to bless you that this meeting with President Bush should be the crowning glory for both of you, and that both of you will enter history because of this meeting before you leave office. My husband, Jonathan Pollard, has languished in prison for 24 years for his service to Israel. I am certain, Mr. Olmert, that if you ask Mr. Bush to grant clemency to Jonathan, he will respond with a full heart in a positive way. Jonathan is ill. Jonathan is suffering, both physically and emotionally, after 24 long, difficult years in prison. Now is the time, Mr. Olmert, to bring Jonathan home alive. Mr. Olmert, you cannot imagine the gratitude and the appreciation that you will receive from the entire Jewish people and from everyone in Israel, from left to right, when you come home to Israel and get off the plane with Jonathan. Mr. Olmert, go and succeed, and heaven will bless.
Now, how is Jonathan doing at this point?
He's a man of a very, very great faith. And he's living by his faith. He's not in good health. Spiritually, he's my teacher, my mentor. He's the one who keeps me going. Physically, it's really not good.
Esther Pollard, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.